As a mangaka at Type Moon Chapter 151 to 160, 151, Jojo theme park nearing completion. So, the acquisition of the animation company is considered preliminarily completed. After double-checking the new contract, Okada Toshio signed it and stamped the chapters he had brought with him. Kazuya let out a sigh of relief. "Where is Mifune City?" Okada Toshio asked. According to the contract, the company's name would be changed to Jojo, and it would be located in a building in Mifune City. "Well, you'll need to go back and see for yourself. It's still under renovation, and we'll officially start work there in a month," Kazuya said to the group. "I'll oversee the first episode because my initial idea for anime has a slightly different personal style." "Do you have a script for the first anime?" Okada Toshio asked. "No, we don't, but we have the manga," Kazuya smiled and said, "I want your first produced manga to be JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, starting from the first part. You can take a look when you return." "I see. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, got it. We'll make preparations when we get back," Okada Toshio said seriously. The first anime after the acquisition had to be done well. "Now, what's left is the music. Mitsuko-san, I'm counting on you for that," Kazuya said to his lawyer, Mitsuko Yamazaki, after Okada Toshio had left. "No, you're too kind," Mitsuko Yamazaki replied with a bow. "I haven't done much to help." Mitsuko Yamazaki spoke the truth. She was just here as a legal consultant, and, after all, she had money. Kazuya's next task for her was to purchase the rights to the music of Get Back Jojo. Although she didn't know if they could use it in the new JoJo, it was better to be safe and acquire the rights. The rights to Get Back Jojo would probably be expensive, but having money was a good thing. However, Kazuya was worried about the other music. It hadn't been released yet. The bands that performed this music hadn't started singing yet, so he was worried. Moreover, they were pressed for time, as Roundabout, the ending theme of JoJo's first part, started in 1992, and it was now 1988, with only a 4-year gap. Perhaps these bands were already conceiving this music. Kazuya considered and said, "Wait a few days before you set off. I'll give you a list, and you can see if you can just buy these bands." "Alright, I understand," Mitsuko Yamazaki replied, somewhat surprised. "When it comes to money, it's not an issue, and I won't restrict their freedom to release albums or anything like that. I'm just hoping that when we need it here, they can help sing a couple of songs," Kazuya smiled. "I understand." He had no intention of developing other aspects, like music or the like. Even if he were to develop it, it would only be for the purpose of providing op-ed and BGM for their own produced anime. After all, he wasn't interested in those things. He was only interested in anime and manga. However, good BGM was essential for anime. In fact, good BGM could instantly elevate the appeal of an anime by several notches. So, he would just buy the bands directly. It might come in handy sooner or later. A day passed. Iwamoto Yu let out a sigh. "Kurakawa-sensei, spending a day with you has had a massive impact on my concept of money. Is it really that bad? But, Kurakawa-sensei, can you make money like this? You're going to lose, right?" "Maybe, but my original goal was never to make Monsi. My goal was to make the anime I wanted to make, and that's it." Iwamoto Yu fell silent. Perhaps this was what it meant to be wealthy. "By the way, are you going to continue drawing manga in the future?" "No. Sorry, that was an unnecessary question." Iwamoto Yu interrupted his own words, looking at Kurakawa-sensei's assets. While drawing manga earned a fair amount, it was insignificant compared to what he was spending now. "The chief editor at Jump also wanted me to ask if, now that you've set up an animation company, there might be a chance for collaboration in the future." Of course, Kazuya nodded. "As long as there's a good manga to convince me, or wait until they have more capital to convince them." As for who they were, Iwamoto Yu knew. It must be the people from Gainax, as Kurakawa-sensei had said. They had the freedom to use this money to produce any anime they wanted, according to Kurakawa-sensei. But in the short term, it probably won't work. First, we need to finish the first 3 parts of JoJo after the acquisition. Mifune City. Kazuya established his new company's headquarters here instead of in Tokyo or Morio Town for a simple reason. It was closer to the Ryugi family, making it convenient for him to go back and forth. However, the Jojo theme park was still located in Morio Town, as it was the setting for Jojo's fourth part. At this point, most of the theme park's facilities were already built, with only finishing touches remaining. It was expected to be completed by the end of this year, with an official opening in early next year. It would include life-sized wax figures of all the characters from parts 1 to 6. Well, maybe that's a bit of a spoiler. It's just a spoiler for the appearance of the characters, though. Everything else was a secret. The main attractions were already being constructed, including Jolo's first part's Joestar Mansion, Wind Knight's Lot, and key locations such as the site of the final battle and the room where Baron Zeppeli died. He had even gone so far as to make Hellclimb Pillar that flowing with oil. The second part featured the Roman Colosseum and Air Suplina Island, where Jojo's training took place. While the scale was smaller, they had done their best to recreate them. The third part, however, had more locations, making it more challenging to replicate. Kazuya hadn't entered that dream world yet. Still, he made an effort to recreate locations such as Dio's lair and the places where Jojo's team fought. As for Jojo's fourth part, Morio Town already existed. You just needed to repave some roads, it didn't require much work. 152, Waver's Clock Tower. Over a year ago, at that time, only the Joestar family's mansion was about halfway completed. The rest of the buildings had yet to be finished, and even with this, it still caused quite a sensation. Soon, this complex of buildings would be thoroughly completed, costing him several $billion, which was equivalent to several hundred billion yen in this era. If it weren't for his increasing wealth, he wasn't sure how he managed it. As he spent however much money, it slowly came back. He spent billions, and then he had more billions. Even the recent sales of Jojo manga in Japan broke through 2 million copies for a single volume. At this point in time, only Fate managed to surpass 3 million. To be honest, he didn't know if this was Jojo's inherent strength or if his golden rule was passively earning him money. In this era, Jojo should have sold perhaps 200,000 copies. But now, however, at long last, this 5-square-kilometer Jolo theme park was about to be completed. Even though it was technically only halfway done, the other half remained as blank buildings to be finished in the future. To have completed this in just over 2 years, he had significantly shortened construction time, considering rising land and labor costs. Even so, only half was done. The rest had to wait for the successive serialization of Jojo's manga and his efforts to complete it. But the largest area was the enormous artificial lake he had dug out and Air Suplina Island built on top of it. He had created all this during a time of rapid land and labor cost inflation in Japan. If he had waited another 2 years to build it, he could have saved several times the cost. Nonetheless, it wasn't necessary. In terms of personal wealth, he might even be the world's richest person. Because the newly established Jojo company and the under-construction Jojo theme park were not going public, and all the authority was in his hands. With Golden Rule A rank, he could do whatever he pleased. Waver Velvet, the new star of the clock tower, stood in front of the door of this classroom, swallowed hard and shivered. Keep calm, Waver, it's not a big deal. Waver encouraged himself in his heart. The clock tower's new star, the victor of the Holy Grail War, the Lord future candidate. All of this rested on the shoulders of this young man, whose magus level at the clock tower was only at the second to last level, known as the Count. Even before, his evaluation was that of the last frame, and it was through his performance in the Holy Grail War that he rose to the Count status. The clock tower's magus rankings consist of 7 levels, from brand to frame, and he now held the second to last position, which was quite weak. He knew that, barring any unexpected occurrences, his magus level in this lifetime would likely only reach the cause level. So he chose the path similar to El Meloid 2, from that manga. He embarked on the path of a lecturer. He had to achieve significant accomplishments to boast about in front of that king. This was his goal. although the current environment at the clock tower subjected him to immense pressure, both praising and oppressing him countless times. But such an environment provided him with possibilities. For example, on the other side of the door, under normal circumstances, there should only be a few bored magus, like a couple of cats, listening to his lecture, but it wasn't the case now. The people on the other side of the door were probably all seated. In other words, this class had to be a success, a great success. It had to be this way, for him to become a lord, not as Elmeloid II, but as Waver Velvet. However, even then, he might only receive the evaluation of an FEs at best. FEs was a unique position within the Mages Association. Half of the magus could skip this rank and directly become pride. Only a few special individuals could obtain the FEs evaluation. The FEs was unique as the abilities of magus varied greatly at this level. Sometimes, magus at this level even surpassed brand. For example, someone with a specific linkage containing the curse of a certain demon god. For instance, a certain person who can easily regenerate damaged Modich crest, for instance. A certain person who can easily regenerate damaged magic crest. Furthermore, for the sake of simplifying the analogy, individuals like Bazit Fraga Makramits are considered FEs. And if a user of Mystic Eyes at the level of Shiki Ryugi were to join the association, they would also be considered FEs. Elmeloid II is rated as FEs due to his teaching skills. Waver planned to follow a similar path because, with his magical level that barely reached the third generation, and his aptitude, it was almost impossible for him to receive any other evaluation. It had to be this way. It had to be this way. The next time he faced that king, the next Holy Grail War, he was planning to participate, but not the next one, the one after that. As a participant in this Holy Grail War, he had the privilege of knowing some inside information. For instance, the next Holy Grail War was expected to officially begin between 1990 and 1995. The location was London. All participants would be magus from the clock tower. After summoning the heroic spirits, they would immediately use a command spell to force them to commit suicide, fill the Holy Grail, and make a wish to sustain the ley lines. So, he wouldn't participate in this Holy Grail War because he couldn't make that king commit suicide, nor did he want to summon other heroic spirits. Therefore, the one after the next would be a fair competition. Within the Mages Association, some slots would be distributed internally, some would be auctioned at a high price, and then the Holy Grail War would be held in a city with fewer people. Whether there would be a winner in the end didn't matter. That was the Mages Association's plan. But there were only a total of 6 slots, 3 digested internally within the Mages Association, 3 auctioned, and the 7th slot was in the hands of Einsburn. Waver's goal was exactly the Holy Grail War after the next one. He needed to achieve enough merit to secure one of the 3 slots digested within the Mages Association. So, he had to become a lord before that. Coincidentally, the current head of the modern magecraft department had disappeared, and no one knew where he went. So he had to demonstrate his worth in front of everyone to secure this position. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. 153. Meeting with Emiya Kiritsugu. Phew, finally done with all the work. Kazuya breathed in relief. He decided to return to Morio town for a while. His last visit had been only for 2 days. This time, he needed to sort out the belongings he left behind, like the original manuscripts of the manga he never used. The manga manuscripts he had brought from Fuyuki City were still there. In Mifune City, the house he was supposed to stay in was undergoing renovations, which meant he would be spending the next 2 weeks or so in Morio town. As he calmed down during the ride back to Morio town, he remembered the invitation he had received before, Mystic Eye Collection train. Before revisiting his true past, he needed to acquire a few Mystic Eye Killers. As the name suggests, they are used to deal with mystic eyes. Mystic Eye Collection train had various mystic eye holders, and sometimes uncontrollable mystic eyes would appear. This was precisely why they needed assistance in removing them. This way, he could not only get rid of his own mystic eyes and replace them with regular eyes but also potentially sell the mystic eyes directly. Otherwise, a single glance could cause heart failure or engulf someone in flames, if they were lucky. If some dreadful binding contract ensnared him, things would get even worse. He couldn't be compelled to use a command spell with a single glance, right? So, having various types of mystic eye killers was necessary. Among them, the most common type was the glasses variety. In any case, he needed some connections for this, and he could check with the Ryugi family to see if they had any relevant channels. Alright, this is fine. After getting off the train, Kazuya looked around, squinting slightly. He didn't say anything and slowly made his way to his home. Emiya Kiritsugu. Ah, it's me. The man nearby, who didn't hide, extinguished the cigarette at the corner of his mouth with a portable ashtray and said, "This time, I hope to make a deal with you." A deal? 1. Kazuya thought for a moment and smiled. Sure, I don't know what you want from me, but I like the idea of a trade. Besides, I have some things I need from magus like you, so it saves me from asking others. With that, the two entered the room. The house where he had fought Emiya Kiritsugu before was right across. Kazuya hadn't had a chance to renovate it yet. Have a seat, Kazuya said. I won't offer you anything to drink. As you can see, this room currently doesn't possess such things. Oh, right. There's still tap water. No, thanks, Emiya Kiritsugu said. So, what do you want? I should be the one to ask that. Kazuya looked at the dust in the room, wiped a chair, and said, why did you specifically come to me? The person in front of him had undoubtedly investigated him. So it should be clear that things like money were of no concern to him. Emiya Kiritsugu's meager assets were simply not worth considering. So, what did he want and what did he hope to gain from him? Well, let me start by explaining what I originally intended to use for our trade, Emiya Kiritsugu said. I know you probably don't care about money, and I can't offer a price that would entice you. So, how about a story? Explain in more detail. Kazuya's eyes lit up slightly. Emiya Kiritsugu's heart trembled a little. He could tell that Kazuya was interested. I can tell you about my story, anything you want to know. I can share all my experiences with you. Story. Indeed, that's intriguing. To be honest, it piqued my interest, Kazuya nodded. The experiences of Emiya Kiritsugu were far more extensive than what a couple of episodes in an anime could cover. His life must be a complex one, filled with various elements. Kazuya could think of many aspects, including firearms, mystery, executor, holy church, mages association, various battlefields, and various people, among other experiences. If it were turned into a manga, or perhaps even made into an anime, that would be fantastic. So, Emiya Kiritsugu said, what do you think? Go on, tell me. What do you want from me? To be honest, I don't think I have anything that could entice you. Kazuya opened his arms and leaned on his chin with one hand, looking at the man in front of him. Ripple? What did you say? Kazuya covered his forehead. You mean, Ripple? You want Ripple from me? That's correct. Emiya Kiritsugu let out a sigh. Since you created that manga, you can't be unaware of the flaws in Ilyasville and Irisville, can you? That's their lifespan. Their human functions aren't comprehensive, and their lives are limited, so you want Ripple to extend their lives. Yes, Emiya Kiritsugu nodded. In my understanding, there are only two people who can do this. One is a grand-ranked puppeteer, Aozuki Tuko. However, she has long been sealed by the Mages Association, and her whereabouts are unknown. The other is your technique. Ripple. It's a technique that can store life energy, right? It can keep people young and extend their lives. So, for Ilyasville and Irisville, it might be useful. I see. Kazuya fell silent for a moment. I don't know what effect Ripple might have on them, as there's no precedent in my knowledge. Are you saying? Emiya Kiritsugu's eyes brightened. Yes, I can teach them Ripple. But as a condition, besides the story, I have one more request. What is it? Emiya Kiritsugu asked nervously. This concerned the lives of Ilyasville and Irisville. No matter what it was, he would agree. Help me acquire mystic eye killers. I'll take care of the cost. You only need to provide the procurement channels. Is that all? Emiya Kiritsugu expressed some surprise. Yes, that's all. Ah. I understand, Emiya Kiritsugu nodded. When it came to mystic eye killers, he had his sources. Moreover, for the person in front of him, this money wasn't a significant issue. He didn't mention his own contribution, because, for him, this amount of money was not insignificant, but for Kazuya. Really, it was nothing. By the way, you must have some free time now, right? Would you like to work for me here? Kazuya suddenly asked, seemingly thinking of something. I can assure you the salary will be quite satisfying. 154. Voice actor Emiya. Do you want to work for me here? When he heard these words from Kazuya, the cold-hearted assassin finally froze. What? I mean, how about working for me? Kazuya continued. You're not really in the mage killer business anymore, right? Regardless, life requires money, and you don't actually have much money, do you? The money you brought from Einsburn should be mostly gone, right? Emiya Kiritsugu remained silent. What Kazuya said was the truth. He didn't have much money left. Although the money he had now was enough for their living expenses for a while, it was just that. There were a total of 6 people living in the Emiya household now, including not only Emiya's family but also Ilyasville, Emiya Mumi, and the elderly person with Emiya Mumi. Just living was already a burden. Most of the previous money had been used to purchase the current Emiya household. And land was still expensive. Originally, according to Emiya Kiritsugu's plan, he was prepared to negotiate with the local yakuza for this. But what kind of job? Emiya Kiritsugu asked. He was not aware of Kazuya's recent activities since it was before the Holy Grail War. Nothing much. I've acquired an animation production company and am planning to make anime. Would you like to come and help? I'm not familiar with that. No problem, no problem. You only need to handle the story. Someone with your rich life experiences can surely provide a lot of material for the production team. For example, special effects like explosions, fur charms, and such. Who knows them better than you? Also, the story you promised me, I'm planning to turn it into an anime. You can come up with the name yourself. How about it? Emiya Kiritsugu's lips twitched slightly. It was one thing to tell someone about it, but now he was being asked to produce it and make his dark history available for everyone to see. And he had to do it himself. Was this some kind of humiliation play? Well, your voice is not bad either. You can do voice acting directly. No, Just as Emiya Kiritsugu was about to refuse, he heard Kazuya's next words. As for the salary, well, you're quite a special talent, so how about 100 million yen per year? Think about it, Emiya Kiritsugu said after a moment of silence. Life required money. He had known that for a long time, but in the past, he had just spent enough for himself, and the money others paid him for his services, except for a small portion he kept for buying weapons and equipment, was mostly donated. After all, killing was a form of salvation, but there was a simpler way of saving besides that. That was donating to charitable organizations, but now it was different. He had 6 people in his care. He and Mumi were manageable, but the elderly person was over 70 and needed a significant amount of money for support. In fact, this was just the tip of the iceberg. If his ripple had no effect on Ilyasville and Irisville, they would need even more money for their sake. In this world, in this era, money was crucial. For example, with money, you could even give a third-rate heroic spirit a chance to win the Holy Grail War. Like bribing certain masters. Isn't the wish to obtain the Holy Grail ultimately about money? How much do you need? I'll give it to you. Help me win the Holy Grail War. In that case, and having a significant supply of magical energy reactors to allow heroic spirits to use their noble phantasms infinitely. So, Emiya Kiritsugu hesitated. I really like someone like Ilyasville. A cute child who seems like an fairy. How about this? If her body has any problems and needs treatment, no matter how much it costs, I can cover it for you. How about that? Deal? Emiya Kiritsugu didn't hesitate this time. Great, Kazuya also smiled. His initial goal was achieved. That is, to produce an anime adaptation of Fate Zero, and have Emiya Kiritsugu voice Emiya Kiritsugu. Just thinking about it was amusing. And now, Emiya Kiritsugu was on board, and the entire Emiya family became a group of excellent voice actors. For example, Emiya Kiritsugu, like Stark from Bleach. Bleach was definitely going to get an adaptation eventually, and he would voice him. Also, the villain boss Yoshikage Kira from JoJo's Part 4, which he was preparing. This would save him the trouble of finding voice actors himself. Then there was Ilyasville. Well, maybe he could make a magical girl Ilyasville or something like that, and have her voice herself, which sounded interesting. And Emiya Shuru, Kazuya didn't know he had changed his name. Like Ishida Uryu from Bleach and Uchiha Sasuke from Naruto, they could also have him voice those characters. This time, he was going to make a lot of money. As for money, he had the golden rule after all. But opportunities like this were rare. After Emiya Kiritsugu agreed, he also felt relieved. It was just as well. Around 2000, the decline in leveling was already evident, and he couldn't continue being a magus. Subtle suggestions and the like wouldn't work anymore, so having a stable income was a good idea. So, when can you start teaching them about Ripple? Anytime, it's not a big deal anyway, Kazuya said, squinting. Even if Ripple were accidentally leaked, it wouldn't be a threat to him. Of course, he wouldn't let that happen. For now, only he, Shiki, and his sister could use Ripple. In this world, there were only 2 people. Then, let's not delay any further. Let's go now. Emiya Kiritsugu said. The sooner they could help Ilyasville and Eri recover their health, the better. It would be good this way. Wait a moment. I'll tidy up some things and go with you. Where's your house? It's in Morio Town, Emiya Kiritsugu said, considering it. He had originally planned for this from the beginning, as Morio Town had no ley lines, making it more stable. Move to Mifune City. I'll buy a house for you with my money, and the new company will be located there. Okay. Kazuya nodded and went upstairs to carefully examine the original manuscript they had left there earlier, making sure it hadn't been damaged. Although there were many copies to follow, there was only one original manuscript. To him, the original manuscript he had personally drawn had a special charm. It was a relief that it was still in perfect condition. 155. The Ripple Magus Emiya. On the way to the Emiya residence, Kazuya asked, by the way, you seem to have adopted Emiya Shuru, right? What was his original name? Murasa Shuru. That was his original name, Emiya Kiritsugu said as he drove. But now, he's called Emiya Mumi. I see. Hearing the family name, a certain heroic spirit appeared in Kazuya's mind. What's the matter? Emiya Kiritsugu asked, looking at Kazuya through the rearview mirror. It's nothing. Emiya Kiritsugu furrowed his brows slightly, sensing that something was off, but decided not to press further. We're here. Emiya Kiritsugu slowly stopped the car and said, this is it. At the door, someone had already come out upon hearing the sound. It was none other than Miyahisa. You're back, Kiritsugu. Yes. Emiya Kiritsugu nodded, opened the car door, and got out, saying, you already know each other, so I won't introduce you again. On the other side, Kazuya also got out of the car. It's been a while, Hisa-san. Welcome, Kurikawa-san, Miyahisa said with a bow. Well then, I'll take care of things here. Kiritsugu, your wife is waiting for you. Yes. Emiya Kiritsugu nodded. Please. Kazuya also nodded, and the two of them went inside. On the other side, Miyahisa drove the car into the nearby garage. Welcome back, Kiritsugu. Who's this? Irisville, wearing an apron, asked in confusion. This is Kurikawa Kazuya, the person I brought to teach you all about Ripple Energy, Emiya Kiritsugu said, turning to Kazuya. This is my wife, Irisville. Hello, Emiya-san. Kazuya also bowed and greeted. Well. Hello. Irisville hesitated for a moment, then her fair face blushed slightly due to the clothes she was wearing. Tonight, it's Iris cooking, Emiya Kiritsugu said, looking at Irisville's attire. Yes, I've been learning to cook recently, Irisville said with a smile. After all, we don't have servants now, and I can't always let Maya-san do it. I've learned how to cook properly. How about trying it, Kiritsugu? Of course, I'll give it a try, Emiya Kiritsugu nodded. Irisville smiled. Excellent. I'm actually quite confident about this round of cooking. Kurokawa-san. What about you? Let's eat together. No, it's alright. I've already had dinner, and I'm a bit full now. I probably won't be able to eat, Kazuya replied with a smile. Is that so? That's a shame. At the back, after parking the car in the garage, Mayahisa came in and wanted to say something but swallowed it back and didn't say it. However, Kazuya caught a glimpse of it. In reality, he didn't know how Irisville's cooking was, and he hadn't had dinner. But judging from the cooking in Einsburn consultation room and the dishes cooked by Iliasville in Fate, Collide Liner Prisma Ilia, he could tell. That was definitely not meant for human consumption. And looking at Mayahiso's face from the corner of his eye, it didn't look like something decent. Afterwards, everyone introduced themselves to each other, and Kazuya also saw the boy now called Emiya Mumi. Though he said that, he was a bit different from the Emiya Shuru he knew, with the most noticeable difference being the whiteness of his hair at the front. It could be said that way. A significant portion of his hair at the front was white. One could only say that parallel worlds were truly marvelous. The Shuru in this world seemed a bit different from those in other worlds. Alright, Kiritsugu, Iliasville, and Mumi, let's give it a try. Okay, I'll give it a try. Emiya Kiritsugu also felt a bit uneasy. Iliasville and Emiya Mumi looked at him with strange expressions. Irisville was full of expectation, and Mayahisa had turned away. It seems, it's not bad. How is it? Irisville asked Emiya Kiritsugu as he tasted the dish. Good, not bad. At this moment, Kazuya only had one thought. This scene could probably be made into a manga. Too bad he didn't have a pen. Can I learn too? Emiya Mumsy asked, puzzled, looking at Kazuya. Of course, it doesn't matter if there are a few more of you, Kazuya said to Emiya Kiritsugu and Emiya Mumi. Having a few more people won't make a difference. And the Ripple user. Emiya, sounds pretty cool. What about Grandma? Can Grandma learn? Emiya Mumi asked. No, forget it, Kazuya shook his head. An elderly person's body is more fragile. If something goes wrong during the training and they faint, that would be bad. But if you don't mind, then it's okay. Older people naturally had less life energy. Even if they learned, there wouldn't be much progress, and they might not even be able to learn. Moreover, if something happened during the learning process due to not adapting to this kind of breathing, it would be bad. Although the ripple had a healing effect, it could only provide a bit of healing for the living, not the dead. It wouldn't be surprising for someone of this age to have various issues. HMPH. Watch, Iliasville will definitely be the first to learn, Iliasville said, hands on her hips. Let me show you what a genius is. Alright, let me see your talent, Iliasville, the first one, Kazuya smiled and said. No, Dad will be the first, alright? Is that okay? Of course, my princess, Emiya Kiritsugu smiled and said. Well then, are you ready? Kazuya, extending a finger and poking. First, let's get used to it. Oh. By the way, in that Jojo theme park of mine, I really built a hellclimb pillar. If you're interested in improving your ripple, just let me know. Cough, cough. The five of them started coughing, and after a while, their breathing gradually returned to normal. While this didn't make them learn the ripple immediately, it was good to get used to it, making the learning process easier later on. So, during this period, Emiya Kiritsugu contacted the people he was familiar with to prepare the mystic eye killers. He taught everyone in the Emiya household, except for the old lady, about the ripple. 156. The beginning of Jojo Company. Wow, they sure have money. In the morning, residing in this employee dormitory, Hideaki Anno opened the window and, looking through the iron railing in front, gazed at the adjacent building, feeling somewhat sentimental. He heard that the building next door wasn't originally built by Jojo Company, but rather by a gaming company. It's easy to understand, many companies do this nowadays. In simple terms, they buy land, build buildings, get bank loans, and then continue to buy land, build more buildings, and secure more loans. After all, this is much more profitable than making games or buying things. This building had just been completed when it was bought at a high price by the new company he was now a part of, including the 6-story employee dormitory next door. Yesterday, people from the original Gainax started arriving one after another, staying here. After all, none of them were from Mifune City. Anno couldn't figure out why the new president decided to place the headquarters here. Is the cost of living cheap? No, that can't be it. Even though they haven't met him yet, just based on their recent experiences, it's clear that the new president is not short of Monsi. Thud, thud. Anno, are you awake? Yes, I'm already awake. Listening to the voices outside, Hideaki Anno put on his coat and grabbed his briefcase, then opened the door. Alright, let's go. It's our first official day at work, after all, Hiroyuki Yamaga said with a smile. Or rather, they had been smiling a lot recently. But, we have to temporarily suspend, Gunbuster, right? Anno couldn't help feeling a bit sentimental. After all, this was his first anime as a director, and they got bought out by the company while working on it. When we finish JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, will we have leftover funds to continue it? The new president did say we could use the remaining money for whatever we want, Hiroyuki Yamaga added, quite excited. Just thinking about having enough funds to do whatever we want gives me so many ideas. By the way, how's Jojo coming along, Anno? Ah, it's almost ready. Hideaki Anno nodded. He had been quite busy during this time, reviewing all the parts of JoJo's several times, including the first, second, and the currently serialized third part. Although they were initially supposed to start with the first part, he needed to become familiar with the series to ensure there were no errors and to ensure a successful adaptation without any hiccups. After having breakfast together downstairs, they made their way to the adjacent building. This building had a total of 12 floors, with a height of nearly 50 meters. It was a rare sight in Japan, whether in this era or in the future. Japan has always had few buildings exceeding 30 meters due to its geographical and seismic conditions. And, this time was a period of rapid development in Japan's history, with a booming real estate market. Until the 21st century, many areas in Japan still had the appearance of the 1990s, making it feel like a ghost town at night. So, this building in front of them only solidified their belief that the company was quite wealthy. After opening the door, they gradually walked in. The interior of Jojo Company's building looked spacious, and there was no one at the front desk. The air still carried the smell of recently completed renovations. As for the elevators, they're over here, Hiroyuki Yamaga pointed out. The offices are on the 8th floor. The 8th floor, huh? What about the other floors? He looked at the new office building and expressed his amazement. I don't know. Let's ask and find out. So, you mean other than the 8th floor? All the other floors are currently vacant. Upstairs, Takeshi Okada, who was with Kazuya, was momentarily stunned before asking. Yes, that's right, Kazuya nodded, rocking his chair. After all, this is our first time establishing a company. Even though we've completed all the necessary paperwork, it's still better to have a personal building. Well, I saw that this one was being constructed in Mifune City, and it looked good, so I bought it. Kazuya tossed the documents in his hand aside. But this is something you guys need to consider, not me. I'm here to provide the money and propose the anime I want to make. The rest is up to you. I don't want to deal with it, and I don't need to. Takeshi Okada's eyes lit up. This. Even though Gainax was sold, and he became the vice president, when he thought about it, not much seemed to have changed. The president didn't want to handle the business side, he just wanted to make anime. It was almost like someone else paid off all their debts to Bandai for them, gave them a free office building, and would continue to provide them with a large amount of money to freely produce the anime they liked. In return, they just had to make anime that satisfied the president's taste. And it seemed like they would never have to worry about running out of money in the middle of an anime production. This was so blissful. Takeshi Okada looked at Kazuya's face and confirmed it repeatedly. Yes, it was true. After all, he had been moving between various companies over the years and only established Gainax in the end. In these past few years, he had seen a lot. Kazuya saw his expression and paid no attention to it. He only cared about the progress of the anime production. Acquiring a company was merely to have the authority to make the anime he wanted. In other words, if he wasn't satisfied, he could remake it as he pleased. Such power. That's why he straightforwardly acquired them. Moreover, there was no board of directors in this company because it was a privately held company with all the capital concentrated in his hands. After all, there was no need for financing to make money. President, Vice President. A voice came from outside the door. Come in, Kazuva said. The group outside the door gradually pushed it open and walked in. Welcome, everyone from the original Gainax. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Kurakawa Kazuya, and I'm your new president. Well, I won't say much more. The equipment is all here, can we start working? I'm really looking forward to seeing Jojo's Bizarre Adventure come to life in your hands. 157 Submissions for voice actors. The work began. Everyone was excited. However, there was an important matter on Kazuya's side regarding voice acting. Do we really need to worry so much about voice acting? Takeshi Okada couldn't understand. In this era, voice actors were still behind-the-scenes workers. But, from Kazuya's perspective, a good voice actor was essential for creating an interesting anime, especially for Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. And if he had to choose the most critical character in this anime, without a doubt, it was the voice actor for the antagonist boss, Dio Brando, also known as Takehito Koyasu. Takehito. Kazuya pondered when Takehito Koyasu started his career. He couldn't remember. Although he liked the character's voice before, he hadn't paid much attention to it. What if he tried something else? Like summoning Anderson or Ozymandias? Forget it, he didn't have that ability, and even if he did, it probably wouldn't help. Thinking carefully, he couldn't come up with anyone. He should have checked his encyclopedia. It should have been recorded there, right? He remembered. In the data he prepared when he crossed over, to avoid forgetting, he probably recorded everything there. But, besides Dio, there were many other important characters. Advertise it for me, Kazuya said. Advertise it on major Japanese TV stations. Fuji TV, Asahi TV, Tokyo TV, NHK, and in all major newspapers and magazines, without exception. Everyone, go and recruit voice actors. Huh? Takeshi Okada was taken aback. Yes. Those selected will receive bonuses ranging from 500,000 to 5 million yen and can sign long-term contracts with us, Jojo Company. If they're not chosen for a particular role but still show potential, they'll receive bonuses ranging from 100,000 to 1 million yen and can also sign contracts. The specific amount of the bonus will depend on the importance of the character. One leave this to you, and you can create the ad copy. In any case, I want to see nationwide coverage of TV commercials on all major Japanese TV stations in the next 2 months. It's also an ad for the animation adaptation of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. 2 months from now, we'll begin the official selection process. But, this will require a significant amount of mansi. Takeshi Okada couldn't help but say. It's all right, I'll cover the expenses, and it won't be deducted from the budget of each episode. You just go ahead and get it done. I understand. Takeshi Okada remained silent for a moment, gritting his teeth. What more could he say? After all, he wasn't the president, and he wasn't the one providing the mansi. If the president had a lot of money and wanted to spend it, what could he do but agree? 7 days later, Jojo Company didn't start producing the first episode of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. They focused on preparing the advertisements they planned to run on various TV stations. This ad was over a minute long and represented a significant effort for Jojo Company. It made them feel somewhat anxious. The ad went through 3 iterations, from visuals to style, before finally matching Kazuya's vision. Alright, let's put it on air now, Kazuya said, looking at the completed ad with satisfaction. This was what he had in mind for Jojo's style. This effect. It would surely attract people. 2 advertisements were created in total, with one being the opening theme song for the first part of Jolo, as he remembered it, with information like voice actor recruitment instead of subtitles. The other was a genuine 1-minute advertisement introducing how to apply for the voice actor recruitment. When combined, it was a little over 2 minutes long. The back part took only half a day to complete, but the first part took 7 days. For the recruitment location, why not place it at the Jojo theme park? It worked out well, and that day was also the opening day of the Jojo theme park. Jojo. Jojo. PFFL. As Iwamoto Yu watched the sudden advertisement on TV, he sprayed water from his mouth. Are you kidding me? They just started production, and they're already advertising? On the TV screen, the music played, and the images of the main characters from parts 1 to 3 alternated in black and white until JoJo's Bizarre Adventure appeared on the screen in big letters. Then the screen changed. Voice actor recruitment. Voice actors. After finishing work, Takehito Koyasu returned home. I guess I should consider developing this path a bit more. This year, I started my career as a voice actor. However, all the roles I've received so far are minor, supporting roles. There isn't a role that really interests me. But I've been in this industry for half a year now, so maybe next year, I'll get a good role. As he contemplated, he turned on the TV. Suddenly, he was taken aback by an unexpected advertisement. Through a long tunnel, the gates opened suddenly, and even the sound of the gate opening was convincingly heard. 2 stars falling from the sky. At the same time, the TV displayed this song. But what caught his attention was not the subtitles, but the text, voice actor recruitment. Gradually devoured, dissolving into the mingling light and darkness on the surface of the water. The voice continued, and the visuals kept changing. 2 characters, one with blonde hair and the other with blue hair, stood opposite each other on 2 staircases. The screen shifted between color and black and white, accompanied by lifelike sound effects. A goddess-like figure spiraled, transforming into something held by a person's hand. But what he found more interesting were the big words that appeared on the TV. Voice actor recruitment. 3 months later, on January 22, 1989, in Morio Town, the Jojo theme park will officially open, and at the same time, a voice actor recruitment ceremony will be held. The selected individuals will receive bonuses ranging from 500,000 to 5 million yen, and those who show potential but are not chosen will receive bonuses ranging from 100,000 to 1 million yen. They may also have the opportunity to sign long-term contracts with Jojo Company. What is this? Takehito Koyasu's eyes widened. Is this about an anime? No. That couldn't be right. The imagery and presentation style. Voice actors. Maybe. I should give it a try. Takehito Koyasu clenched his teeth, threw on some clothes, and rushed out. Anyway, he should first become familiar with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. 158 The Boiling Anime Fans. Hey, have you heard the news? JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is going to have an anime adaptation. Of course, I've heard. Lately, there have been so many JoJo-related ads. But the main focus is on recruiting voice actors. But it's still going to be a while before we can see the full anime. The student at this school, Takiwa Ishibashi, said with a sigh, that commercial is just too cool. Yeah, how about we give it a try? Try becoming voice actors ourselves. Huh, us. Maybe. Hey, it's Jojo, the one we love and imitate all the time. We might have a shot. Then I'll audition for Dio. The savior of villains is so cool. I think Jonathan is handsome too, such a gentleman. Like this. He then posed like Jojo and said, my heart resonates. Heat enough to burn. My blood's beat is razor sharp. Sunlight yellow overdrive. Dio's cool too. Like, do you remember how many breads you eaten in your life? Hey, but haven't you guys paid attention to something else? Another student walked over and said, Jojo's theme park, Jojo's theme park. I've been there. Hisanori Ishizuka chimed in, the Joestar mansion they built was so realistic. But back then, there was still a lot of open space. I wonder how it is now. I can't wait. Shueisha. Is that correct? Goto Hiroki asked in amazement. Yes, it's definitely true. Goto Hiroki smiled, a big smile. This issue of Jump has reached 7 million in sales. It increased by more than 1 million at once. It's hard to imagine what happened. Have you figured out the reason? Yes. The reporter nodded. It's probably because of the recent JoJo's Bizarre Adventure ad that started airing. Yeah, it's him. Goto Hiroki thought of something and then nodded, sitting down and massaging his temples. Really, that guy is crazy. He understood what was going on. Although many newspapers had begun reporting on this, the influence of television was undoubtedly more significant. But the Jojo company seemed to have spent tens of billions of yen to advertise on almost every television station in Japan. Even on pay-per-view channels, meaning channels without advertisements, there were some broadcasts being immersed in his money rain, treating it like a regular program. And there were almost no people who were dissatisfied with this. The reason was simple. The quality of the Jojo company advertisement was exceptionally high. Others might not understand, but could he, the editor-in-chief of Jump, not know? That was absolutely at the pinnacle of the industry, even higher than animated movies. That guy didn't want to make his own Jojo with this level. Goto Hiroki, of course, knew who the president of the Jojo company was. And knew about his Jojo theme park. Although he didn't know how much money was thrown into it specifically, judging by the size, he estimated it to be hundreds of billions of yen. Unconsciously, he sighed and said, "He's really rich." Thank goodness he didn't offend him. Otherwise, he'd probably say something like, "I want to acquire Jump," instead of, "I want to maintain the integrity of the story later on." Yeah, he's really rich. The animation production companies were amazed by Kurokawa Kazuya's generosity. Manga fans eagerly anticipated Kurokawa Kazuya's animation. Even people who didn't originally watch anime were drawn in by the exquisite animation. As a result, both the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure manga volume and Jump magazine's sales skyrocketed once again. Just the increased sales of the manga brought Kurokawa Kazuya over 1 billion yen in revenue. Then, there was the land in Morio Town. He figured he would sell it off at a marked-up price since it was no longer useful. Who would have thought it would sell for over 10 billion yen? Adding to that the stocks he bought on a whim, which had suddenly surged, he earned tens of billions more yen. Remember, just over a year ago, the United States had experienced Black Monday. In any case, mysteriously, Kazuya's wealth didn't decrease by a single yen, it only grew. Things are always so strange. The A-rank golden rule is truly amazing. And then, time passed. Soon, 3 months had gone by. While Kazuya initially mentioned 2 months, he had extended it to 3 months. Furthermore, he purchased airtime on Japanese television for the live broadcast of the voice actor selection event that would take place in the Jojo theme park. It's nice to have money. Kazuya couldn't help but sigh. If it weren't for this A-rank golden rule, I would be thinking carefully about how to save money and cut costs. But now, I don't have to worry at all. I can spend on whatever I want. I'll make more money than I spend. The Jojo theme park, as a massive amusement park, was naturally equipped with a suitable venue. It was a perfect place for the voice actor selection event. However, there was one condition. The progress of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure animation production had to be. It's finally done. Hideaki Anno stretched his somewhat stiff body. We've finally managed to animate Jojo's first and second parts before it starts. That's true, but only the first episode of Jojo barely passes. Kazuya walked over and watched the last episode of Jojo's second part. President, Hideaki Anno hurriedly said. However, that's still somewhat usable. Kazuya said. Currently, only the first episode of Jojo had been completed, but in his opinion, it was still unsatisfactory and needed to be redone. Although the opening theme song they created before had given them some insight into his intentions, he still considered this first Jojo episode a failure. As for the rest, because of the lack of time, they essentially just patched together the manga. Next, they were going to hold a long-term voice actor selection ceremony within the Jojo theme park. Kazuya had already purchased an hour of broadcast time on Japanese television for a half-year period. Alright, all that's left is to wait for the Jojo theme park to open in 3 days. Have you counted the number of people who signed up? Yes, it's all been counted. But he spent so little money. He had only spent slightly less than 100 million yen, just over 70 million, due to the redo. Was it really that cost-effective to make an anime? Never mind, he was an amateur anyway. As long as they produced a Jojo that matched his vision, it was all good. 159 Jojo Theme Park. January 21, 1989. Now, in Morio Town, countless visitors have already gathered, the vast majority of them coming to see the Jojo theme park, and a small fraction coming to shine on this stage and earn the 500,000 yen prize. Everyone is eagerly awaiting tomorrow. In reality, the Jojo theme park opened on this day, and even some of the food stalls inside have already started serving. However, the guests they are receiving are somewhat different. These are all people that Kazuya knows. For example, his two editorial staff members, Iwamoto Yu and Okada Tomomi. There's also the chief editor of Jump, Yoshikawa Daishi. And all the members of Jojo Company. They've come to take a look at the lifelike setting, which should make it easier for them during the production of Jojo. Of course, they can also bring their families. There's also the Emiya family. And the Ryugi family. And Carly visit. I understand, says Shiki Ryugi. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Having the privilege to visit early is really great. Iwamoto Yu says while looking at the map of the amusement park in his hand, and then looks at the editor, asking, is there anything you want to see? Yes, Yoshikawa Daishi folds the map and puts it away, saying, I want to see that hell climb pillar. On the other side, Hideaki Anno and others are also discussing. I heard the president say that the hell climb pillar has really been showcased, says Hiroyuki Yamaga. Hey, why not try jumping down? They say to try it, suggests Hideaki Anno. I'm ready to jump, Hideaki Anno thought for a moment. Really? After all, it's not easy to have such an opportunity, and personally experiencing it now will give us more experience when making the second part, right? With the president's financial resources, making the second part is just a matter of time. Do you think he'll care if the first part makes a profit or not? Hideaki Anno says. You have a point. Okada Tomomi seems to have thought of something and says, why don't we all jump together and see who can climb up a bit? Haha, you must be joking. It's all oil there. How can we climb? Oh, the president is here. Hey, Kazuya waves to several people. Behind him, there's the entire Emiya family and Shiki. Good day, Mr. President. Good day, Mr. President. Hey, is this cosplay? Iwamoto Yu comes over and quietly asks Kazuya. Kazuya follows his gaze and sees Irisville and her daughter Ilyasville. No, they looked like that from the beginning. Well, you can consider my fate as being inspired by them, Kazuya explains. Amazing. There are actually people like this. Iwamoto Yu says in amazement. Shiki gives a tug to Kazuya's sleeve and says, so many people. Yeah, but don't worry, it's quite large inside. Actually, it's quite large. After we go in, if you get lost and don't know where to go, just ask the nearby staff, they will guide you. If you can't find the exit, you can ask them to take you out. After all, today there are many more staff members than visitors. Ha ha ha. Okay, let's go. With that, the entrance door opens, and everyone walks in. Shiki, where would you like to go? Kazuya asks her. Today, he's prepared to accompany Shiki around. Well, it's a rare opportunity to go out, so let's see everything. Shiki says with a slight smile. Aren't you the master? Okay, Kazuya says, looking at Ilyasville being carried on Emiya Kiritsugu's shoulder, should we do it like that? No, forget it, Shiki turns her head and says after a pause, but, if it's only once, if it's only ONCC. Does that mean yes? Kazuya smiles and picks her up. Let go. Is this appropriate? Be patient, it'll be fine soon. It's quite high, isn't it? Well, so. Riding on Kazuya's shoulder, Shiki doesn't say anything, just looking around. Not bad. Most people seem to have gone to the Hell Climb Pillar. According to Iwamoto Yu, once the real opening, that place will definitely be crowded, and there's no telling how long the wait will be. Take advantage of the low number of people now to have a good time. For others, if they can't see it now, they might have a chance to see it later. So Kazuya takes Shiki, and the two of them stroll around. First, they visit the Joestar family mansion, where everything Kazuya saw in the Joestar family has been perfectly restored. Ah, where is the stone mask hanging? Shiki says with some surprise. Let's go take a look. Sure. With that, Kazuya and Shiki walk over, and Shiki takes the stone mask off the wall. Will blood start spewing out if we touch it? No, this is a fake, Kazuya says with a slight lift of his head, but it's made to scale like the real thing. Even the feel of it in your hand is not much different from the real thing. After all, Kazuya himself knows how to make stone mask. Want to go upstairs? Okay. The two of them walk upstairs, and Shiki looks at the statue of the goddess. Kazuya also puts Shiki down and takes several pictures of her. Of course, it was Kazuya's suggestion. After leaving the Joestar family mansion, they arrived at Windknight's lot. Inside, they have recreated every scene of the battle between Jojo and Dio. For example, the one in front of them. The intersection leading to Windknight's lot is a tunnel. In the middle of the tunnel, there are statues of Zeppeli, Jojo, Speedwagon, and Jack the Ripper, with the following 2 lines of text. Courage is knowing fear and making that fear your own. Human praise is the praise of courage. Human greatness is the greatness of courage. On the ground, there are statues of Jojo and Zeppeli, 2 dark knights next to them, and further ahead, countless stone pillars piled up. On top of the pillars is a life-sized statue of Dio. And then, there's the stone room where Zeppeli dies. Inside, there are statues of Tarkus and the hanging Jojo, as well as Speedwagon and the child, and stepping forward with a determined look, Zeppeli. On the wall, it's also carved with the words, "Since ancient times, there has been a chamber filled with the stench of death. When the child opens the door, in order to free the young lion bound by chains, you will sacrifice your body and welcome a cruel death." 160 Official opening. Wow, this is amazing. As they walked halfway to the Hell Climb pillar and then returned to the entrance, the members of the Jojo company were pleasantly surprised by the first part of the exquisite Jojo series displayed here. Yeah, I never expected it to be this detailed. If scenes like these existed in reality, they would probably look just like this. Seeing this, I'm incredibly eager to present Jojo perfectly. Oh yes, I feel the same way. This is so cool. If we encounter any difficulties in production later on, we can just come here and all our problems will disappear. On the other side, ha ha ha, Shiki couldn't help but laugh as she looked at the statue in front of this building. Is this what they call the Tequila Girl? At the entrance, dressed as a woman, was Joseph Joestar, along with 2 soldiers from the German army. Just think about it. A 6 feet 5 inches muscular man dressed as a woman, fluttering his eyelashes. It was truly a sight to behold. Inside was the base of the German army depicted in the manga. In the base, all the characters behind the mirror, including Santana, were perfectly recreated. On the other side, the Emiya group also arrived at the Hell Climb pillar. How do we get over there? Emiya Kiritsugu asked, especially Ilyasville. Since they were here to have fun, they should consider her opinion. By boat. Ilya wants to go by boat. Alright, by boat. I'll walk across the bridge with Grandma, Emiya Mumi said, raising his hand. After all, Grandma is getting old. Alright. Emiya Kiritsugu thought for a moment and nodded, especially since she didn't know how to use Ripple yet. Thank you, Shiro. Grandma said, still calling him by his previous name, smiling. Being with Grandma is good enough. No, I'll stay with you. Emiya Kiritsugu and the others smiled and sat on a small wooden boat that looked like the one the others were heading to. They were led by a boatman and paddled over. Afterward, the staff informed them, if you want to challenge the Hell Climb pillar, you can go this way. If you want to sightsee, go the other way. I want to challenge the Hell Climb pillar, before others arrive, Emiya Mumi said. Ilya also wants to try. No, let's skip it for Ilya, Emiya Kiritsugu shook his head. Think about it, Ilya. Inside, it's all oil and stuff. Imagine how it would feel to be drenched in oil. You're right. Wait a moment, a staff member walked over. To enter the room for the Hell Climb pillar challenge, you need to undergo an inspection. You can't have any metal or ignitable tools on you. I see. Irisville nodded. It's great that we came at this time, we don't have to wait in line. Ladies and miss, this way, a female staff member said, looking at Irisville's face with envy. Yes. So, we'll stick to this side, Emiya Kiritsugu smiled. He wasn't worried about Irisville getting into trouble. Firstly, she could use Magecraft, and secondly, she could use Ripple, whereas the staff were just ordinary people. Leaving aside whether there would be any trouble, even if there were. Who was in trouble remained to be seen. The inspection also allowed them to change into a new set of clothes. At least Emiya changed into a new outfit. He looked around and took a deep breath. So, this is the real hell climb pillar. Splash. And then he jumped in. So deep. Emiya moved his body, realizing he didn't get hurt from the jump. However, the oil level had already reached his shoulders. Good thing I didn't go further, Ilya. From the observation deck above, Irisvil looked at Emiya below and said with a smile, Ilya is too short. If you jump down like this, the oil would have covered your head immediately. Ilya will grow taller. On the other side, Emiya Kiritsugu walked in and said to Emiya alright, I've already used my suggestion magecraft, you can try now. Okay. Emiya took a deep breath and then jumped up, gathering ripple at the fingertips, sizzle. Haha, Mumi idiot, big idiot. Ilyasvil watched Emiya slide down and laughed, if it were Ilya, I would have climbed up in an instant. Emiya sighed, not saying anything. Indeed, it was a bit difficult. After a while, Kazuya and Shiki also walked over. So, this is the so-called hell climb pillar, really? Shiki commented. How about it? Do you want to give it a try? Kazuya asked. No, thanks. Shiki shook her head. It'll dirty my clothes. On the other side, Emiya Kiritsugu smiled and stared at the outside, watching when the staff from Jump, who had mixed with the people from the Jojo company at some point, would come to him, and said, Mumi, they're here. Yes, I know. Before he could finish speaking, Emiya slipped down due to his irregular breathing. I know. After a moment of silence, Emiya sighed. In the end, he only climbed about 2 meters. In his opinion, with enough time, he should be able to climb 5 or 6 meters. This thing gets more challenging the higher you go. Oh, impressive. At this time, the Jojo company members who had passed the inspection were also amazed, saying, I never thought we'd see such a scene in reality. Right, who wants to go down? Over there, Anno and the others have already gone. Really? Sure enough, they saw another entrance that was relatively shorter. Hideaki Anno and the others responsible for the original drawings were all there. One by one, they jumped down. Oh, this is real. It's really oil. Smack. He jumped up, opened his arms, and then slid down the pillar. No, it's too slippery, you can't hold on at all. Emiya, who was on the side, sighed, well, I'm going up. Saying that, he walked to a small lift nearby. He reached another exit, where there were 2 branches. One led to the booth where Kiritsugu, Kazuya, Shiki, and the others were, and the other led to the bathroom. Hey Kiritsugu, I'll take a bath first. Alright, go ahead. And, that's how the day slowly passed. Afterward, the group went to see various locations from Part 3, the Wax Muscum, and the stage where the voice actor selection ceremony would be held the next day. For more thrilling fanfiction stories like this, check out my channel Fanfic Audiobook. Dive into epic adventures, mysterious realms, and legendary journeys brought to life through immersive storytelling. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing audiobooks.